This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Though diminutive, some paintings carry an outsized impact. This small landscape by the American master George Inness is not one of those paintings, at least not yet. Covered with surface grime and a very thick, very old, very discolored natural resin varnish, all of the subtlety, the nuance, the color, the light, and the atmosphere that Inness was so known for creating is lost. The surface is wavy and textured and catches the light when we attempt to view the painting, and this further breaks the illusion of space and depth that can transport us into this place and make us forget of our world. Even Inness's signature is barely visible, robbing him of the credit he deserves for creating such a wonderful little painting. At some point in the past, the painting was glued down to a sheet of masonite, and while that adhesive bond failed, the adhesive has stuck to the canvas. And this is the source of all of the distortion we see on the front. And this will have to be reckoned with. But for all of its problems, with a little bit of attention and care, I'm confident that this painting will come alive. As an artist, it took George Inness his entire life to become a master of form, of color, of light, and of paint itself. And the pursuit of mastery is something I encourage, particularly if it's your job. We do that here in the studio every single day. But sometimes the juice just isn't worth the squeeze, particularly when it comes to building and designing your own website. Between all of the technologies you need to use, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, e-commerce, search engine optimization, responsive website design, graphic design, it can be overwhelming. But luckily for you, there's Squarespace. With thousands of beautifully designed templates that work everywhere and anywhere, Squarespace will have you looking good. And with their new fluid design technology, you can drag and drop elements around your website to change things up or customize it as you see fit without the need of any code. But that doesn't mean it's just a pretty website. Under the hood is massive technology. From search engine optimization, e-commerce solutions, mailing lists, online scheduling, social media integration, shipping solutions, and more. Pretty much everything you need to run a successful business. So head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Baumgartner to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So while you may have no need to become a master at web design, choosing Squarespace is a masterful decision. The conservation of this small landscape begins with removal. First, the old label placed on the back by the auction house will be peeled off and stored in a safe location for the future. And then the removal of the old adhesive begins. By employing a sharp scalpel blade and moving slowly, the old brittle adhesive can be chipped up and off the original canvas, and the original canvas can be revealed. This is a slow and tedious process, but there is no faster, more efficient, safer way to remove this adhesive. Some sections come off fairly easily with little effort due to excessive deterioration. Other sections require significant effort. Throughout the removal process, a small label is revealed. That will need to be saved for later. By moving throughout the field of the painting, changing directions and areas of focus, relief for the hand and the mind can be achieved. It is of paramount importance that the original canvas is not damaged during the removal process. Over the course of several hours, all of the adhesive is chipped and scraped off of the original canvas, and the painting becomes free of this intervention. The uneven application of adhesive on the back of this canvas is of particular frustration. Some areas very thin and others very thick require different approaches. But in the end, removing all of this adhesive is the ultimate goal. While seemingly of no importance, this small label will be carefully removed and saved for the future. With the canvas now free of adhesive and that previous intervention, the first of several treatments on the heated vacuum table can commence. By employing moisture, heat, and pressure simultaneously, the waves and distortions in the canvas can be relaxed and removed. Once the treatment is complete and the painting cooled, it can be removed from the envelope and pressed under weights for several days to allow it to acclimatize to the studio's relative humidity, thus preventing any distortion after the hot table treatment. A layer of felt not only protects the painting, but compensates for any textural differences while under pressure. A simple cinder block is sufficient weight to keep the painting flat. While free of all of that old adhesive, the canvas is likely weakened from exposure to that adhesive, and so an impregnation of synthetic, reversible adhesive is necessary to provide structural integrity. While this adhesive can be removed in the future, doing so would likely return the painting to a more fragile state and necessitate another intervention. A thin and even layer of adhesive is rolled on the back, and an even distribution is critically important. Once the adhesive is dry, the painting can be returned to the hot table for another treatment. This time by employing heat and pressure. In the absence of moisture, all of that adhesive can be forced into the canvas weave and add to the canvas's structural fidelity. The use of a vacuum pump to draw out all of the air and create even pressure is necessary at this stage of treatment. With all of the old interventions on the back now reversed, we can begin focusing on the front of the painting and the removal of the old discolored natural resin varnish. By using a small swab and a suite of solvents previously tested on the painting in the upper right-hand corner, the old varnish layer can be softened and lifted up. And what's revealed is a beautiful range of colors, and also some significant retouching along the top edge where the artist didn't finish the work. Areas of damage and paint loss are also revealed. By working in small, controlled sections of like colors, we can minimize the possibility of losing control or damage to the painting. The deterioration of this natural resin varnish, a damar, likely started almost instantly after it was applied, during the last treatment. But the change happens so gradually and slowly that we often don't notice it until the painting is cleaned and we can see what the artist intended us to see. Though less dramatic, the removal of this old varnish from the trees, the mountains, the ground, and the foreground is also important. Subtle variations in the browns are revealed. Shadows, highlights, and different colors come through once free of the darkening effect of the old discolored varnish. And this allows us to see the entire painting as the artist wanted us to, full of drama, full of color, and full of light. Oranges, purples, reds come through when the old varnish is removed, and those all add to changing how we see this painting and how Inness painted the light hitting this landscape. Even the foreground, which appears to be composed solely of greens, reveals oranges and pinks in the undercolor. All delicate and deliberate actions by Inness to create his atmosphere. And as we finally come up to, around, and the signature, we can reveal his inscription once and for all. While all of the old interventions on the back, the adhesive, and the front, the old varnish and retouching, are removed, the painting now requires additional work to prepare it for its future. Tacking edges need to be added to this canvas to facilitate stretching to a custom-built support. And by using a reversible heat-activated film adhesive and a strip of Belgian linen, frayed at the ends, for maximum adhesion, we can create that tacking edge. After ironing, a weight with a board attached to it, otherwise known as a clapper, is used to prevent any distortions of the canvas. The excess material is deliberately trimmed off so that all elements of what are added are nice and clean and tight. The strip lining is overlapped at the corners to give extra fidelity where the wood will come to a point. Areas of paint loss and damage that were previously retouched were revealed during the cleaning process, and those where the paint has been lost need to be filled in with a putty. The putty is applied liberally, and then the excess is removed later on to reveal only fill in where the paint has been lost, as small as it may be. It is at this stage that the painting can be married with the new custom-built wooden support. Once aligned to the support, steel tacks are used to stretch and hold the painting in place. Smaller, lighter weight tacks will be used to secure the excess canvas to the back of the stretcher once it's been folded over. Little wooden keys driven into the floating mortise joints will allow the stretcher to be slightly expanded, adding tension to the canvas and keeping it flat and free of distortion. Fishing line fed through the holes in the keys and bound to a tack on the stretcher support ensure that if these keys ever come loose, they won't be lost or fall in between the gap between the stretcher and the canvas, creating a bulge. The painting is now ready for retouching, where all of the losses are filled in with a reversible, archival, conservation-grade paint. Unlike the oil paint previously used for retouching, this paint contains no oils, making it stable and fully reversible. It was decided that filling in the blank areas at the top was the desired approach for the client. Though most of this will be covered up by the frame, the slight area peeking through was of enough visual distraction that removing it allows the eye to focus on the painting and not this little edge. Small dots of color are added to create a harmonious effect of blending in all of the losses. As the painting begins to lose its damage, all of the distractions start to disappear. And the quality of light, the atmosphere that Inness worked so hard during his lifetime and career to create, start to come through. We no longer see the holes, the chips, the scratches. We just see the landscape. And while the retouching in the sky is significant and impactful, as we move down to the foreground, removing these areas of white from the dark colors really start to make a difference and allow the painting to come together. It is of paramount importance that new paint only be placed where old paint is missing, where the paint has been damaged. It often requires multiple passes with different colors to achieve the desired effect of losing the damage. Even the edges, which again will be covered by the frame, are retouched. Luckily, in this case, the signature is free of damage. But even still, retouching around and on the signature is extremely restrained. Any signs of intervention on a signature can often become problematic for the provenance and future sale of a painting. And with the few final applications of paint, the image is now whole. And while the beginning of this conservation began with removal, the end concludes with addition. In this case, the addition of a synthetic, ultraviolet stable, archival, and fully reversible varnish layer, designed to protect the paint, to enhance it, and to give it a glorious sheen, catching the light and dancing on the surface. A thin coat is all that is required, and as the solvent evaporates and the resin becomes stiff, brushing it out creates a beautiful, velvety surface. But before this painting is complete, that little label that was salvaged is attached to the back. The auction house label is also affixed, and so is the conservation label, which contains notes about what materials were used. It is at this stage, with all of the work complete and the painting as close to George Inness's vision as possible, that we can finally see his mastery and appreciate the quality of light and atmosphere that he was so well known for creating. Free from distraction, chips, scratches, damage, no longer covered by an old discolored varnish, and smooth and flat without any waves and ripples to catch the light and break the illusion of space, we can finally see why Inness sat down and chose to cast his gaze on this small little piece of the landscape. And though diminutive, and perhaps not a grand masterwork, this painting commands no less attention, exudes no less sensitivity, and creates no less magic than any other masterwork.